Chosen one, something happened in the heavenly realm today that has not happened in a very long time. God stood up from his throne. Not once, twice, and both times, it was because of you. I need you to hear that again. The creator of every heartbeat that has ever echoed across time did not merely glance in your direction. He rose. He stood to his feet. The first time he stood, he smiled. Because he saw something in you that you have been unable to see in yourself. The second time he stood, he did not smile. He wept, not from sorrow, not from grief, but from pride so deep it could not be contained in silence. You are here right now because heaven made sure of it. This moment was not suggested to you. It was orchestrated for you. And what I am about to share with you over these hours will explain exactly why the Almighty rose from his seat twice in one day, and why both times his eyes were fixed on you. Do not leave. Because the first revelation alone will change how you understand everything you have been carrying. But the second revelation, the one about why, he cried, that is the one that will change who you believe you are. Stay with me until the very end of this message, because by the time we are done, 3 things will have happened. First, you will understand why your hardest seasons were not punishments. You will see the hidden architecture behind every painful thing you walked through, and it will finally make sense. Second, I am going to give you a specific framework, a tool with a name that you can use starting tonight to recognize when God is not just watching your life, but actively standing in response to it. And third, at the very end, I am going to lead you through a ceremony, not a regular prayer, an activation, a commissioning spoken over your life that I believe heaven itself is waiting to seal. These 3 things are coming, but they only arrive for the one who stays. Now, before I take you into the first revelation, I need you to sit with something, because what I am about to describe is not something I read in a book. It is something I believe the Spirit placed on my heart for you. And it starts not in the heavenly court, but in your living room, in your bedroom, in the car you were sitting in when you thought no one could see you. There was a night. Maybe it was recent. Maybe it was months ago. Maybe it was last week. You were alone. Not just physically alone, but the kind of alone that sits inside your chest like a stone. The lights were off, or maybe the television was on, but you were not watching it. You were staring at something without seeing it. And your body was doing that thing it does when the weight gets too heavy. Your shoulders were pulled forward. Your breathing was shallow. The kind of breathing that happens when your lungs forget they are allowed to expand fully. And somewhere in that silence, without planning it, without warning, a thought surfaced. A thought you would never say to another human being because it sounds too raw, too exposed, too honest. Does God even see what I am going through? Not, does God exist? You were past that question a long time ago. You believe. You have always believed. The question was sharper than that. It was, does he see this? Does he see the specific weight I am carrying right now, in this room, at this hour, with no audience and no applause? Does he see that I have been faithful and nothing has changed? Does he see that I showed up again today when everything in me wanted to quit? Does he see that I am running out of reasons to keep standing and I am still standing anyway? I want you to know something about that moment, about that exact second when that question rose up inside your chest. Something happened that you could not perceive with your physical senses, but that your spirit, if you listen carefully, already knows is true. Heaven moved. Not in a general sense. Not in the way people casually say, God is always watching. Something specific happened. In the courts of the Most High, where every seat has been occupied since before time began, a shift took place. The atmosphere changed. Because the one who sits on the highest throne, the one whose position has never been challenged by any force in any realm, he leaned forward. He leaned forward because he saw you. Not from a distance, not through a filter of billions of other prayers. He saw you, sitting in that room, carrying that weight, asking that question. And what happened next is what this entire message is about. But before I show you what he did, I need you to understand something about what he saw, because that is where most people get the story wrong. They think God responds to perfection. They think God responds to achievement. They think he rises for the loud, for the visible, for the ones the world already celebrates. That is not what moved him. What moved God was something the world has never learned how to measure. It was your faithfulness in rooms where no one clapped. It was your decision to keep praying when prayer felt like speaking into concrete. It was the fact that yesterday, or last week, or 3 months ago, you had every reason to walk away from your faith, every logical, reasonable, justifiable reason, and you did not walk away. You stayed. You did not stay because it was easy. You stayed because something deeper than logic, something you cannot even fully explain to yourself, told you not to stop. That is what he saw. And I want to be very clear about what I am telling you right now. That weight you have been carrying, the one that sits in your chest and makes your breathing shallow and makes your eyes heavy even when you have slept enough hours, that weight is not depression. It is not burnout. It is not a sign that something is wrong with you. That weight is the gravity of a calling that has not yet been named. It is the pressure of a purpose that is too large for the container you are currently living in. And your body is feeling the strain because something inside you is about to break through the walls of the life that can no longer hold it. You are not tired from doing nothing. You are tired from carrying everything in silence. And there is a monumental difference between those two things. The world does not know how to tell them apart, but God does. And that is exactly why he responded the way he did. Now, I want to paint a picture for you, not of your living room, of somewhere else, somewhere your spirit has access to, even if your eyes have never seen it. Imagine a courtroom. Not an earthly courtroom with wooden gavels and fluorescent lights and tired lawyers shuffling papers, a courtroom in the highest realm of existence. The ceiling, if you could call it that, stretches beyond what the mind can calculate. Every seat is filled, not with spectators, but with beings who have been present since before the foundations of the earth were set in place. And in the center of this courtroom, elevated above every other seat, there is a throne. The throne is not ornamental, it is authority itself, and seated on that throne is the judge. The only judge in all of existence whose verdict cannot be appealed, cannot be overturned, cannot be challenged by any power in any realm. For years, this courtroom has been in session. Your case has been open. And I do not mean that metaphorically. I mean that every detail of your life has been observed, documented, and entered into a record that nothing can erase. Every tear you cried when no one was in the room entered as evidence. Every prayer you whispered at 2 in the morning when the house was quiet and your faith was barely a flicker, recorded as testimony. Every time you chose integrity when cutting corners would have been easier, and no one would have known the difference, documented. Every time you held your tongue when your pain wanted to lash out, every time you forgave someone who never apologized, every time you kept showing up to a life that seemed to be giving you nothing in return, all of it, every single moment, written into the case file that has been sitting open on the bench of the Most High. And that case file is thick, chosen one. It is not thin. It is not a few scattered pages. Years of evidence have accumulated, years of proof that you did not fully understand you were building with every quiet act of faithfulness. And this is where the story changes, because today, something happened in that courtroom that made every being present hold their breath. The judge, the one who has been seated, the one whose posture has been sovereign stillness for as long as anyone can remember, he moved. Not his hand, not his gaze, his entire body. He pressed his palms against the armrests of the throne, and he rose. He pushed himself to his feet, and he stood. The courtroom did not erupt, it fell silent. Because every being in that space understood what it means when this judge stands. It does not happen often. It does not happen casually. When this judge stands, it means something has moved him beyond what sitting can contain. It means a verdict has been reached. It means a decree is about to be spoken that nothing in creation can reverse. And the first time he stood, his face did something that changed the entire atmosphere of the courtroom. He smiled. Not a polite smile, not the kind of smile you give to be pleasant. A deep, knowing, radiating smile. The kind of smile a father holds back for years, saving it, guarding it, waiting for the exact moment his child proves what he always believed about them. And that smile was not aimed at the courtroom. It was aimed at you. That was the first time. There was a second time. And the second time is the reason this message found you tonight. Because the second time God stood, he did not smile. His eyes filled. His face shifted. And tears, the kind of tears that carry the weight of holy pride, the kind that say, I watched you, and you did not break. Those tears rolled down the face of the Almighty. Both times, he stood. It was for you. Now, here is what I need you to understand before we go any further. What I just described is the foundation of everything you are about to hear. And this message is long for a reason. It is not long because I want your time. It is long because what heaven is saying over your life right now cannot be compressed into 5 minutes and still carry its full weight. There are revelations in this message that build on each other. The first revelation will change how you see your struggle. The second will change how you see your worth. And the final one, the one that comes at the very end, will change how you see your identity permanently. If you leave early, you will receive comfort. But if you stay until the end, you will receive transformation. And I believe that is why you are here. If something in your spirit just confirmed what I said, if something in your chest shifted when you heard those words, type, "He sees me" in the comments right now. Not for me, for you. Because when you type those words, you are not performing an action for a screen. You are making a declaration in the spirit realm that you are awake, you are present, and you are ready to receive what heaven has been holding for you. Type, "He sees me." Now let me take you deeper into the first revelation, because the courtroom scene I just described, the judge standing, the smile, the tears, that was the headline. But underneath that headline, there is a story about what God actually saw that made him unable to remain seated. And this is where most people miss it. They hear God stood up for you, and they think it means God is powerful. It does. But that is not why he stood. They think it means God has a plan. He does. But that is not what moved him to his feet. What moved God to his feet was not his power. It was your proof. Let me say that differently, so it lands in the right place. God did not stand because he is mighty. God stood because you made him proud. There is a difference between a king who rises because he has authority and a king who rises because something in front of him took his breath away. The first is duty. The second is emotion. And what happened in the courtroom of heaven today was not duty. It was a father who could not stay seated while watching his child carry what you have been carrying without flinching. But here is something about the first time God stood that most people miss. and I need to address it now, because if I do not, the rest of this message will not land the way it is meant to. There is a detail about that first standing, about why he smiled, specifically, that connects to an ancient word in the original language of Scripture, a word that changes what God, standing up, actually means. It does not just mean he rose from a seated position, it means something far more powerful, far more judicial, far more permanent than that. I am going to reveal that word to you, but not yet. Because, before you can receive what that word means, you need to see what it was about your life, your specific journey, your invisible faithfulness, that triggered the standing in the first place. And that starts with the signs, 6 of them. 6 markers that have been appearing in your life, some of them for weeks, some for months, some for years, that you may have noticed but could not explain. These 6 signs are not random. They are not coincidence. They are the evidence file that made the judge lean forward before he stood. And when I walk you through them, one by one, I believe you will recognize yourself in at least 3, possibly all 6. And when you do, something in your understanding of your own life will permanently shift. The courtroom is still in session, chosen one. Your case file is open, and the judge has been reading every page, including the pages you thought no one would ever see. What I am about to show you are the 6 marks on those pages that made him unable to stay seated. The first sign is the unexplained heaviness, and I call it unexplained because that is exactly what it is. You have been carrying a weight in your body, specifically in your chest, sometimes in your shoulders, sometimes in the center of your forehead, that does not come from anything you can point to. You have not received bad news. You have not experienced a sudden loss. Nothing in your external circumstances has dramatically worsened. And yet, your body feels like it is carrying something enormous. You wake up tired even after a full night of sleep. Your limbs feel heavier than they should. There is a pressure behind your eyes that no amount of rest seems to dissolve. And you have probably gone to the logical explanations first. You told yourself, it is stress. You told yourself, you are not sleeping well. You told yourself, maybe you need vitamins, or maybe you need to drink more water, or maybe this is just what getting older feels like. But none of those explanations sit right in your spirit. Because deep down you know this heaviness is not medical, it is not nutritional, it is not the result of poor sleep hygiene, this is not anxiety, chosen one, this is not burnout. This is your body processing the weight of what is about to be born through you. The same way a woman's body changes and aches and becomes heavy before she delivers new life. Your entire being, your body, your mind, your emotions, is shifting under the weight of what God is preparing to push through you into the world. The heaviness is not a sign of breakdown, it is a sign of delivery, and the fact that you cannot explain it with logic is itself the proof that its origin is not logical, it is spiritual. The second sign is the emotional waves that arrive without warning. You have been experiencing sudden surges of emotion that do not match your circumstances. One moment you are fine, standing in the kitchen, sitting in traffic, scrolling through your phone, doing something completely ordinary, and out of nowhere, tears. Not the kind of tears that come from sadness, the kind that come from something deeper, something you cannot name. A wave of emotion that rises from somewhere beneath your conscious mind and floods your eyes before you can even understand what triggered it. And sometimes it is not tears. Sometimes it is a sudden, unexplainable peace that washes over you in the middle of a situation that should logically be stressful. Other times it is a sudden heaviness of heart, a grief that does not belong to any specific event but feels ancient, as if you are mourning something that happened long before you were born. These emotional waves come and go without pattern, without warning, without explanation, and they leave you wondering if something is wrong with you. Nothing is wrong with you. This is not instability. This is not hormones misfiring. This is your soul responding to a frequency your conscious mind has not yet decoded. There is a shift happening in the spiritual realm around your life. Your spirit is picking up the vibrations of that shift before your mind can translate them into thoughts. The tears are not weakness, they are reception. You are receiving something from heaven, and your body is doing the only thing it knows how to do with downloads that large. It is overflowing. The third sign is the changed tolerance. And this one might be the one that has confused you the most because it does not feel spiritual. It feels like you are becoming a difficult person. You have noticed that conversations you used to tolerate now drain you within minutes. People you used to spend hours with now exhaust you after 20 minutes. Environments you used to navigate easily, social gatherings, group chats, certain friendships, certain family dynamics, now feel suffocating. You find yourself pulling back, canceling plans, choosing silence over socializing, and a small voice inside you keeps asking whether you are becoming cold, whether you are becoming selfish, whether something is wrong with your ability to connect. Nothing is wrong with your ability to connect. What is happening is that your frequency is shifting. And when your frequency shifts, everything that was calibrated to your old frequency begins to feel misaligned. It is not that those people changed, it is that you changed. And the discomfort you feel in those old environments is not coldness, it is clarity. Your spirit is now operating at a bandwidth that cannot tolerate what used to be normal. The drama that used to feel like just part of life now registers as interference. The gossip that used to feel harmless now feels heavy. The relationships that used to feel comfortable now feel like they are costing you something you can no longer afford to spend. This is not you becoming unkind. This is not you becoming isolated. This is you becoming aligned. And alignment always costs you the things that were out of alignment. That is not a punishment. That is the courtroom clearing the room of anyone who does not belong in the next chapter of your case. If you have recognized yourself in at least 2 of these 3 signs so far, if your spirit has been nodding while your mind has been trying to keep up, type, "I recognize this" in the comments. Let your fingers say what your voice cannot, because what I am about to show you with the next 3 signs goes even deeper. And the more of these you carry, the closer God's attention is to your life right now. Before I continue, I want to pause for a brief moment, not to ask anything of you, but to do something for the person who has not found this message yet. There is someone out there right now, maybe on the other side of the world, maybe in the same city as you, who is carrying the exact same weight you carry. They are lying in the dark, asking the same question you asked. Does God even see me? And the only way this message reaches them is if it moves beyond this room. So before we go deeper, gently press the like button, not for me, not for numbers, so that this message has the strength to travel to the one person tonight who needs to hear that their invisible faithfulness was never invisible to God. Let your like be the bridge that carries this word to them. Now, the 4th sign, and this one operates at a different level because it does not happen during the day. It happens while you are sleeping. You have been having vivid dreams. Not the foggy, half-remembered kind that dissolve within seconds of waking, the kind that feel more real than your waking life. Dreams where you are searching for something. Dreams where you are in a place you have never visited, but that feels disturbingly familiar. Dreams where someone is speaking to you, but you cannot quite make out the words, as if the message is being delivered in a language your sleeping mind can almost translate, but not quite. Dreams where you wake up and the feeling lingers for hours, sitting in your chest like an echo. And sometimes the dreams are not symbolic, sometimes they are prophetic. You dreamed about something, and then it happened. Maybe not exactly the way you saw it, but close enough that you could not dismiss it as coincidence. Close enough that you sat up in bed and thought, wait. That dream was not just a dream. It was not just a dream. Your spirit does not sleep the way your body does. When your conscious mind powers down, your spirit becomes more available, more open, more receptive. And God has been using those hours to speak to you directly, to show you previews of what is coming, to prepare your subconscious for the shift your conscious mind is not yet ready to process. The dreams are not random, they are briefings. They are case notes from the courtroom being delivered to you while the noise of the world is quiet enough for you to hear them. The fifth sign is the repeating patterns, numbers, songs, words. You keep encountering the same sequences: 11, 11, 3, 33, 4, 44. You glance at the clock, and it is one of those numbers again. You check your phone, and the battery is at that percentage. A receipt totals to a number that has been following you for weeks. And beyond numbers, you hear the same song at impossibly specific moments. Someone says a word that you were just thinking. You overhear a conversation between strangers that answers a question you have been silently asking. These are not coincidences. Your life is not glitching. The fabric of your reality is being rearranged, and these patterns are the seams showing. When God is actively moving the pieces of your life into alignment, the evidence of that movement bleeds through into the physical world in ways that your logical mind cannot process, but your spirit immediately recognizes. Every time you see one of those numbers and your stomach drops slightly, every time a song plays and the words hit so precisely that you have to pause, that is not chance, that is communication. Heaven is speaking to you in a language your spirit is fluent in, even if your mind is still learning the alphabet. And the sixth sign. This is the one I saved for last because it is the one that sits closest to the question you asked in that dark room. The one that brought you to this message in the first place. You have been carrying a sense of divine urgency, a feeling that something is about to happen, not a specific event, not a date on a calendar, just a knowing deep in your gut that the season you are in is reaching its end. Something is shifting, something is turning. You can feel it the way you feel the temperature drop before a storm arrives. The air is different, the energy around your life is different, and yet nothing visible has changed. This is the sign that confuses people the most because it creates a contradiction. You feel urgency, but you have no evidence for urgency. You feel like something massive is approaching, but you cannot point to a single concrete thing that proves it. And that contradiction makes you wonder whether you are imagining it, whether you are so desperate for change that your mind is manufacturing the feeling. You are not imagining it. This is not desperation dressed up as intuition. This is not your mind creating false hope. This is your spirit sensing what your eyes cannot yet see. In the courtroom of heaven, the verdict was already reached before the judge stood up. The decree was already written before he smiled. Your spirit is sensing the weight of that decree approaching your physical reality. The urgency you feel is real. What is coming is real. And the fact that you cannot see it yet is not evidence that it is not there. It is evidence that it is still in transit between the spiritual realm and the physical one. And that transit, I promise you, is closer to completion than you realize. 6 signs: the unexplained heaviness, the emotional waves, the changed tolerance, the vivid dreams, the repeating patterns, the sense of divine urgency. If you carry 3 or more of these signs, I need you to hear this with your full attention. These are not symptoms of something going wrong. These are symptoms of something going right at a speed and a scale that your physical body and conscious mind are struggling to keep up with. The heaviness, the tears, the withdrawal, the dreams, the numbers, the urgency, all of it, all 6. These are the pages in your case file that made the judge lean forward. The more of these signs you carry, the closer God's attention is to your life right now. Not his general, everywhere, all-at-once awareness, his specific, focused, personal, I am looking directly at you and I cannot look away attention. The kind of attention that precedes action, the kind that precedes a verdict. And here is what I need to leave you with before we go into the next part of this revelation. The courtroom is still in session. Your case file is not closed. The judge has been reading every page, but what I have shown you so far is only what was happening before he stood. The 6 signs are the evidence that made him lean forward. What I have not yet shown you is what happened when he rose. What made him smile the first time he stood? What ancient word in the original Hebrew language reveals the true, devastating, beautiful meaning of what it means when God stands up from his throne? And why that word changes everything about how you understand your wilderness, your waiting, and your pain. Because God did not smile, because your pain ended. God smiled for a reason that most people have never been told. A reason connected to a word that, once you hear it, you will never be able to unhear. That is what is coming next, and I believe it will be the moment your spirit has been waiting for. Now, I need to show you what happened the first time God stood and why he smiled. Because the 6 signs you just heard are not signs that God is merely paying attention. They are signs that God is about to do something he has only done a handful of times in all of sacred history. He is about to rise. And I told you earlier that there is something about the first time God stood that most people miss. Something connected to an ancient word in the original Hebrew language. I am going to take you there, but the path to that word runs through your wilderness first, because the reason God smiled is buried inside the very season you thought was trying to destroy you. Let me ask you something that might sound strange at first. Think about the hardest season of your life, not the most dramatic, not the most visible, the hardest. The one that happened behind closed doors, where nobody saw what it cost you, where nobody measured the weight you were carrying, where nobody gave you a trophy for surviving it. The one that, if you are honest, you are either still in right now or you just recently came out of. Now here is the question. What if that season was not what you thought it was? What if the thing you called punishment was actually preparation? What if the thing you called abandonment was actually assignment? What if the silence you interpreted as God turning his back was actually God holding his breath, watching, waiting, refusing to interrupt the process, because he knew the process was building something in you that could not be built any other way? I know how that sounds. I know that when you are in the middle of the wilderness, the last thing you want to hear is that it has a purpose, because in the wilderness, purpose is invisible. In the wilderness, all you can see is sand and silence, and the absence of everything you asked for. But I need to take you somewhere right now. I need to take you into the story of someone whose wilderness lasted 13 years. And what happened at the end of those 13 years is the reason I believe God smiled when he looked at you. His name was Joseph. And if you know anything about his story, you know the broad strokes. He was his father's favorite. His brothers hated him for it. They threw him into a pit. They sold him as a slave. He ended up in a foreign country, working in the house of a powerful man named Potiphar. He did everything right. He worked with integrity. He refused to compromise his character even when the opportunity was handed to him on a silver platter. And what did he get for it? He got thrown into prison, falsely accused, forgotten. And here is the part that most people skim past because it is not dramatic. It is not cinematic. It is not the kind of scene that makes for a good movie poster. But it is the most important part of Joseph's entire story. In prison, a man came to Joseph with a dream. This man was not powerful. He was not connected. He was a cupbearer, a servant, someone who in the hierarchy of that world barely registered. He had nothing to offer Joseph, no influence, no pathway to freedom, no strategic value whatsoever. And Joseph, sitting in a cell, forgotten by the world, could have looked at that man and thought, "Why should I help you? What do you have for me? My own dreams are dead. My own life is over. Why would I spend my last reserves of energy interpreting your dream when nobody is interpreting mine?" But that is not what Joseph did. Joseph looked at a man who had nothing to offer him, and he said, "Tell me your dream." And he interpreted it with full attention, with full care, with the same excellence he would have given if he was standing before a king instead of sitting in a dungeon. And I have to stop right here and ask you something directly. Do you realize what I just described? Do you understand the kind of faithfulness that was operating in that moment? Joseph was not faithful because things were going well. Things were terrible. Joseph was not faithful because he could see the finish line. There was no finish line in sight. Joseph was not faithful because someone was watching and he wanted to impress them. Nobody was watching, nobody important, nobody who could change his situation. Joseph was faithful for no reason, no external reason, no strategic reason, no logical reason. He was faithful because faithfulness was not something he did, it was something he was. It was woven into the fabric of his identity so deeply that even a dungeon could not strip it out of him. And here is the part that changes everything about the first time God stood. God did not smile when Joseph became the second most powerful man in Egypt. That was the outcome. That was the promotion. That was what the world eventually saw and celebrated. But God's smile did not happen there. God's smile happened in the prison cell, in the dark, in the forgotten. In the moment when Joseph chose to serve a man who had nothing to give him in return, when Joseph chose to be faithful, when faithfulness gave him nothing back, that is when God smiled, not at the result, at the process, not at what Joseph achieved, at who Joseph became while no one was watching. And chosen one, this is the mirror I need you to look into right now, because the parallel between Joseph's story and yours is not poetic, it is precise. You have been in your own version of that prison cell, maybe not physically, but spiritually, emotionally, relationally, financially, you have been in a place where faithfulness gave you nothing in return. You showed up, you did the right thing. You helped people who could not help you back. You held your integrity together when cutting corners would have been so much easier and nobody would have known the difference. You kept praying when prayer felt like whispering into an empty room. You kept believing when belief felt like holding onto a rope you could not see. And somewhere in the middle of all that invisible faithfulness, a voice inside you started to whisper that it was all for nothing, that nobody noticed, that nobody cared, that you were pouring yourself out into a void that would never pour back. I am here to tell you that voice was wrong. What felt like abandonment was actually assignment. God was not absent from your wilderness. He was watching every second of it, but he was not watching to see if you would fail. He was watching to see if you would stay. What felt like delay was actually deepening. The things that were being built inside you during those years, the patience, the resilience, the discernment, the unshakable core of who you are, those things could not be built in comfort. They required the pressure of the wilderness. They required the furnace. What felt like loss was actually leverage. Every relationship that fell away, every door that closed, every plan that crumbled, it was not subtraction, it was clearing. The courtroom was making space for what was coming by removing everything that did not belong in the next chapter. What felt like silence was actually strategy. God was not ignoring you. God was protecting you. Because if he had spoken too soon, if he had revealed the full picture before you were ready, the weight of what is coming would have crushed the person you were then. He had to wait until you became the person who could carry it. And what felt like punishment was actually preparation. Every tear, every sleepless night, every moment of doubt that you survived without quitting, it was all being entered into the case file. All of it was building the evidence that would eventually make the judge unable to remain in his seat. God did not smile because your pain ended. God smiled because your faith did not. That is the first revelation. That is what the first standing was about. The judge reviewed the evidence. He read the pages of your faithfulness in the invisible seasons. He saw the prison cell moments. He saw the times you served when serving gave you nothing. He saw the times you chose right when wrong was right there and nobody was watching. And something about the totality of that evidence, something about the sheer weight of your unseen devotion, made him unable to sit any longer. He stood and he smiled. Because in you, he saw what he saw in Joseph. Faithfulness that was not a strategy, faithfulness that was an identity, faithfulness that persisted not because of what it could get, but because of who you are. And I need to pause here and speak to the part of you that just flinched, the part that just heard me say, God smiled at you and immediately thought, no, not me. I am not Joseph. I am not that faithful. I have doubted. I have complained. I have had moments where I wanted to walk away. I have had thoughts that a faithful person should not have. Let me be very clear about something. Faithfulness does not mean you never doubted. Faithfulness means you doubted and you stayed anyway. Faithfulness does not mean you never felt like quitting. Faithfulness means the thought of quitting sat in your chest and you carried it and you kept going anyway. Faithfulness is not the absence of struggle. Faithfulness is the presence of showing up in the struggle, morning after morning, with no guarantee that the morning would bring anything different from the one before it. You are not disqualified because you struggled. You are qualified because you struggled, and you are still here. And that, chosen one, is exactly what made God smile. If your spirit just received that, if something deep inside you just unclenched for the first time in a long time, because you finally heard the words you did not know you needed to hear, type Amen in the comments. Not as a religious gesture, as a receipt, as your spirit signing for a package that heaven has been trying to deliver to you for years, type Amen. Now, there is more, because the smile was not the full story. I told you earlier there is a word, an ancient Hebrew word, that changes what God standing up actually means. That word is the key that unlocks the second layer of this revelation, and when you hear it, the smile will make even more sense. But more than that, this word is the bridge that connects the first standing to the second one, the one where God did not smile, the one where he cried. That word is coming, and it changes everything. The word is quam, spelled Q-U-W-M. In the original Hebrew, when the scriptures describe God rising, the word they use is quam. And most people, when they read that God stood up, they picture exactly what you would picture. Someone going from a seated position to a standing position. A physical motion. Simple. Unremarkable. But quam does not mean that. In the original Hebrew, qum carries a weight that the English translation completely flattens. When this word is used in the context of God, it does not mean he simply rose from his chair. It means he rose as a judge rises when a verdict has been finalized. It means he rose in defense, the way a father rises when his child is being accused by someone who has no authority to accuse. It means he rose to fulfill a decree, a ruling, a proclamation that has been sealed and is now being executed. Calm is not a casual motion, it is a judicial action. It is the physical embodiment of a decision that has already been made and can never be reversed. Let me make sure this lands where it needs to land. When I told you God stood up and smiled, your mind may have pictured something gentle, something warm, something like a grandfather rising from his chair to greet his grandchild, and there is warmth in it. But qum tells you there is more than warmth. Calm tells you that when God stood, he was not just being affectionate, he was issuing a ruling, he was declaring a verdict. He was saying, in the language of the highest courtroom in existence, I have reviewed the evidence, I have read every page, and I decree that this one is proven. He does not rise to observe. He does not rise to evaluate, he rises to decree. And a decree from the mouth of the one who sits on that throne cannot be appealed, cannot be overturned, cannot be reconsidered, cannot be reversed by any power on earth or beyond it. When God performed qum over your life, he was not giving you a compliment, he was handing you a verdict. And the verdict says, proven. Now there is only one recorded moment in all of sacred scripture where a human being actually saw God standing. One. In the entire biblical narrative, across thousands of years and thousands of people, only one person was given the vision of looking up and seeing God on his feet. His name was Stephen. And what was happening to Stephen at the moment he saw, it tells you everything you need to know about what kind of faithfulness triggers QWM. Stephen was not standing on a stage, receiving an award. Stephen was not in a palace being crowned. Stephen was being stoned, literally. Rocks were being thrown at his body by an angry crowd. His bones were breaking, his skin was tearing, he was dying. And in the middle of that, in the absolute worst moment of his physical existence, Stephen looked up, and he saw the heavens open. And he saw God standing, not sitting, standing. Every other vision of heaven that appears in Scripture describes God seated on his throne, sovereign, still, reigning from a posture of absolute authority. But in this one moment, for this one person, God was standing, and the reason is qum. God was not just watching Stephen die, God was rising in response to Stephen's proof. Stephen was proving, in real time, with his last breaths, that his faithfulness was not a performance, it was not conditional, it was not dependent on whether his life was going well. His faithfulness held even as his body was being destroyed, and that is what made God stand. Here is the reframe I need you to sit with. Stephen did not see God standing because Stephen was dying. Stephen saw God standing because Stephen was proving. The stoning was the test. The faithfulness during the stoning was the proof, and the proof triggered the decree. You are not Stephen. Your body is not being stoned, but your spirit has been. Your faith has been under assault. Your patience has been pelted with delay after delay after delay. Your peace has been attacked by doubt and confusion and silence, and you have not broken. You have bent. You have struggled. You have cried out in the dark, but you have not broken. And that, chosen one, is your stoning. Not physical, but spiritual. And your faithfulness through it is the evidence that triggered QM. Your faithfulness through the invisible stones is what made the judge stand. Now, I want to give you something practical before we go further, because revelation without application is just information, and information alone does not transform. What transforms is when you take what you have just learned and begin to see it operating in your own life. There is a framework I want to introduce to you. I call it the standing ovation audit. And it is a tool for recognizing when God is not just watching your life from a distance, but actively standing in response to what he sees. I am going to give you the full framework later in this message, with specific steps you can use starting tonight. But right now, I want to plant the seed so that as we move into the next revelation, you are already beginning to scan your own life with new eyes. The standing ovation audit is built on 5 specific signs that God is actively responding, not just observing. Not the 6 signs I showed you earlier, which are signs of preparation. These 5 are signs of divine action, signs that the verdict has been issued and the decree is being executed in your physical reality. I will walk you through all 5 in detail, but for now, begin to ask yourself this question. Have I seen doors open recently that I did not push? Have I seen people arrive in my life with exactly what I needed without me asking? Have I felt a growing sense of urgency that I cannot explain? Have my dreams become louder? Have my enemies gone quiet? If your answer to even 2 of those is yes, then KWM has already been spoken over your life, and the evidence of it is already showing up in your world. Now here is what I want you to notice about everything I have shared so far. The 6 signs from earlier were evidence that the judge was reviewing your case. The smile was the verdict, the emotional response of a God who was moved by your invisible faithfulness. The word quam tells us the smile was not just emotional, but judicial, a decree that cannot be reversed. And Stephen shows us the kind of faithfulness that triggers it, faithfulness under fire, faithfulness that proves itself when the world is throwing stones. But there is a question that all of this raises. A question that, if I am honest, is the reason this message exists. If the first time God stood, he smiled, then what was so different about the second time that he cried? If you have survived what most people would have walked away from, if you are the kind of person who stayed in the fire long after common sense told you to leave, then what I am about to share is specifically for you. Because the second standing is not for everyone. The smile was for your faithfulness, but the tears are for something else entirely, something deeper, something that even you may not have recognized about yourself yet. And to understand the second standing, we need to look at another ancient word, not Hebrew this time, Greek. A word that describes a kind of weeping that only appears a handful of times in the sacred texts. A word that, when you understand it, will explain not just why God cried, but why his crying changes your identity forever. When you understand what QM truly demands, you realize something about the second standing that very few people can handle. Because if the first standing was a verdict, a judicial action declaring you proven, then the second standing had to be something beyond a verdict. It had to be something that exceeded judicial protocol. Something so unusual, so unprecedented in the courts of heaven, that it moved the judge past ruling and into raw, holy, uncontained emotion. And that is exactly what happened. The second time God stood, he did not smile. And I need you to understand why the absence of the smile is not a downgrade. It is an upgrade. A smile is controlled. A smile is composed. A smile is what you give when you are pleased. But tears of pride, the kind of tears where your chest tightens and your eyes burn and the emotion rises so fast that your body cannot process it quickly enough, those tears are not controlled. They are the overflow of something too large to contain. God has watched suffering since the beginning of creation. He has seen wars, he has seen famine. He has seen betrayal and cruelty and injustice of every kind imaginable. Suffering alone does not make God cry. If it did, his tears would never stop. What made God cry was not your suffering. What made God cry was what you did with your suffering. Let me say that again, because this is the hinge that everything turns on. God did not weep because you were in pain. He wept because you were in pain, and you chose to stay. You chose to keep believing when belief cost you everything. You chose to keep showing up when showing up gave you nothing. You chose to keep your heart open when closing it would have protected you from further damage. You could have become bitter. You did not. You could have become cruel. You did not. You could have turned your back on everything you once believed, and no one would have blamed you. The evidence was in your favor. The pain was real. The disappointment was legitimate. The silence from heaven was long enough to justify walking away, and you did not walk away. And I hear the Spirit saying these words over your life right now. Listen carefully. I cried, not because you suffered, my child. I have watched suffering since the beginning. I cried because you chose to stay when everything told you to leave. When the pain said go, you stayed. When the doubt said this is pointless, you stayed. When the loneliness said no one is coming, you stayed. When your own mind said you are wasting your time, you stayed. And that choice, that single repeated stubborn beautiful choice to stay, that broke something open in my heart that I did not know could still break. I want you to hear those words, not as poetry, not as a motivational phrase. I want you to hear them as a direct communication from the one who has been watching your case file accumulate page after page after page of proof. Proof that you are not fragile. Proof that you are not temporary. Proof that what he put inside you cannot be extinguished by anything the world throws at it. His tears were not for your pain. His tears were for your proof. You proved something in that wilderness. You proved something in those invisible years. You proved that his investment in you was not wasted. You proved that the gifts he placed inside you before you were born, the calling, the sensitivity, the depth, the stubborn refusal to settle for less than what your spirit knows is possible, you proved that none of it was destroyed by the fire. It was refined by it, and that refinement, that transformation from who you were before the wilderness to who you are now after the wilderness, that is what moved God past a smile and into tears. Now, I need to take you into the Greek, because there is a word that describes the kind of crying that happened in the heavenly court, and this word appears in one of the most famous and most misunderstood verses in all of sacred text. The word is dakryo, D-A-K-R-Y-O. In the Greek, dakryo does not simply mean to cry. There are multiple Greek words for different kinds of weeping. Dakryo is specific. It describes tears that come not from grief, not from weakness, not from fear, but from being moved. Moved so deeply that the emotion overflows the container of the body and becomes visible. Dakryo is the word used when the soul is so full that it has no choice but to spill. And here is why this matters. This exact word, dakryo, appears in the shortest and perhaps the most powerful verse in all of Scripture. You may know it. Jesus wept. 2 words in English. But in the original Greek, the word used is dakryo, and the context of that verse is what unlocks everything about the second standing. Jesus was standing at the tomb of a man named Lazarus. Lazarus was dead. His sisters, Mary and Martha, were weeping. The crowd was weeping. Everyone assumed that Jesus was weeping because his friend had died. But here is what makes that moment so much deeper than a simple grief response. Jesus already knew he was about to raise Lazarus from the dead. He knew. He was not standing at that tomb in uncertainty. He was not caught off guard by death. He walked to that tomb with full knowledge that in a few moments he was going to call Lazarus back to life. So why did he cry? If he knew the ending, if he knew the resurrection was coming, why did Dacrio happen? Because Dacrio was not a response to death. Dacrio was a response to faithfulness. Mary and Martha had been faithful. They had believed. They had waited. They had hoped. And when their brother died, they did not curse God. They did not abandon their faith. They fell at the feet of Jesus and said, "If you had been here, my brother would not have died." Not an accusation, an affirmation. Even in their worst moment, their faith held, and that is what moved him to Dacrio. Not the tomb, not the death. The faithfulness of the ones who stood beside the tomb without breaking. Do you see the parallel? Do you see what I am showing you right now? God's Dacrio over your life is the same kind of tears. He is not crying because you suffered. He already knew the suffering was coming. He is not crying because the situation is hopeless. He already knows the resurrection that is approaching your life. He is crying because you stood beside your own tomb, the tomb of your dreams, the tomb of your expectations, the tomb of the life you thought you would have by now, and you did not break, you did not curse. You did not leave, you stayed faithful beside the grave of everything you lost. And that faithfulness, that stubborn, illogical, beautiful faithfulness, moved the heart of God to Dacrio. His tears are not grief, they are recognition. They are the overflow of a father who watched his child endure what should have destroyed them and come out the other side, still standing, still believing, still open. And here is where the second standing goes beyond the first. The first standing was a judicial decree, cum, a verdict of proven. But the second standing, the one with the tears, that was something more. That was not the judge ruling from the bench. That was the Father leaving the bench. In the first standing, God acted as judge. In the second standing, God acted as Father. And the distance between those two, between a verdict and a tear, is the distance between justice and love. Justice says you passed. Love says you broke my heart with how beautifully you passed. Justice stamps the file. Love holds the file to its chest. The tears of the second standing are God holding your case file to his chest and weeping. Not because you are guilty, not because you are broken, because you are his, and what you endured, and how you endured it, touched a place in the heart of the Almighty that nothing else could reach. Now, I need to talk to a specific part of you. The part that has been listening to everything I have said and has been quietly, steadily, persistently whispering one thing: not me. You have been hearing every word. Your spirit has been receiving it. But there is a voice, a familiar voice, one that has lived inside your chest for years, maybe decades, that keeps saying, "This cannot be about me." God does not stand for people like me. God does not cry over someone who has doubted as much as I have doubted. God does not weep with pride over someone who has failed as many times as I have failed. This message is beautiful, but it is for someone else. Someone more faithful, someone more worthy, someone who has not messed up as many times as I have. I hear that voice. I know that voice, and I need to speak directly to it right now. That voice is not humility, chosen one. I know it disguises itself as humility. I know it wears the costume of modesty and self-awareness and appropriate self-criticism. But underneath the costume, that voice is a cage. and it has been keeping you locked inside a version of yourself that is far too small for the decree that has been spoken over your life. Unworthiness is not humility. Humility says, I did not earn this and I receive it with gratitude. Unworthiness says, I do not deserve this and I refuse to let it in. One opens your hands, the other clenches your fists. And you have been clenching for a very long time. The doubt that tells you this cannot be real, the doubt that says good things do not happen to people like me, that doubt is not protecting you. It is delaying you. It is the last wall between where you are and where the decree says you belong. And the only one with the power to take that wall down is you. So I am going to do something right now that I do not do lightly. I am going to give you permission. And I know that might sound strange because you are an adult and you do not need permission from a voice on a screen. But here is what I have learned about chosen ones. Many of you have spent your entire lives giving permission to others. Permission to take your time. Permission to take your energy. Permission to take your presence. Permission to take your peace. But nobody, not once, looked you in the eyes and gave you permission to receive for yourself. So here it is, you are allowed to be the one God cries over. You are allowed to believe that your faithfulness was enough, even though it was imperfect. You are allowed to receive recognition that you did not ask for and did not earn by the world's standards. You are allowed to stop performing for an audience that was never qualified to judge you in the first place. You are allowed to matter this much to the Most High, and you do not owe anyone, not a single soul on this earth, an explanation for why heaven chose to stand for you. If something just broke open inside you, if the walls just cracked, if the tears just came, or the tightness in your chest just released by even 1 degree, type, I am worthy of his tears in the comments right now. That is not arrogance, that is not pride, that is the sound of a cage door opening. Type it. Now, let me tell you what the second standing means for your actual, tangible, physical life. Because revelation that stays in the spiritual realm and never touches your Monday morning is incomplete revelation. And God did not stand twice for you so that you could simply feel moved. He stood so that your life would move. For those entering this season, and I say for those because not everyone who hears this is in the exact same moment, but for those whose spirit just confirmed yes. This is my season. 3 areas of your life are about to undergo a reorganization that you could not have manufactured on your own. The first area is your relationships. Some of you have already noticed this beginning. The people around you are shifting. Not because you pushed them away, but because the frequency of your life has changed, and some people simply cannot stay in a room that is operating at a vibration they are not calibrated for. But here is what you have not seen yet. The relationships that are arriving, the ones that have not fully formed, the ones that are still on their way, those relationships are unlike anything you have experienced before. They will not drain you. They will not require you to shrink. They will not ask you to explain yourself or defend your calling. They will recognize you immediately, deeply, without effort. The second area is your purpose. The fog that has been sitting over your calling, the confusion about what you are supposed to be doing with your life, that fog is about to lift. Not gradually, suddenly. You are going to have a moment, possibly in the next few weeks, where something clicks, a conversation, an opportunity, an idea that arrives fully formed, and in that moment you will know. You will know what you were built for. You will know why the wilderness was necessary. You will know why the waiting lasted as long as it did. Because what is coming requires every single thing you learned in the dark. And the third area is your provision. I need to be careful here because I do not make promises about specific amounts or specific timelines. That is not my role, and I would never disrespect you with false guarantees. But I will say this: the financial strain, the resource gap, the feeling that you are always just barely making it, that pattern is connected to the old season. And as the new season establishes itself, provision has a way of aligning with purpose. When you step into what you were made for, the resources to sustain it have a way of meeting you there. Not always in the form you expected, but always in the measure you need. And right now, all across the world, this is not just happening to you. Chosen ones in every time zone, in every language, in every corner of this earth, are going through this exact same recalibration. You are not alone in this shift. There is a wave moving through the spiritual realm right now, a collective awakening of chosen ones who have been in their wilderness for years and are simultaneously reaching the end of their formation period. And the fact that this message found you at this exact moment is itself part of the coordination. Heaven does not work in isolation, it works in movements. And you are part of a movement so large that it does not have a human name yet, but those who have gone further, those who have already walked through what you are walking through, some of them describe the phase that comes after this. The phase where the decree begins to manifest in the physical world. They call it destiny's embrace. I cannot tell you more about that now, but I want you to hold that phrase in your spirit, because there is a part of your story that extends far beyond what I am able to cover in this message, and your spirit already knows it. And before we go further, before I take you into the revelation that synthesizes everything, both the smile and the tears, into a single truth about your identity, I need you to know this. What I am going to declare over your life before this message ends is not a regular prayer. It is not a list of wishes directed at the sky. It is an activation ceremony, a commissioning spoken over your life that I believe the courtroom of heaven is waiting to seal. I have felt it building since the moment I began speaking to you, and the weight of it is increasing with every word. Stay with me. What is coming at the end is the reason this message was placed in front of you tonight, and that is not what I think. That is what I know in my spirit. The courtroom erupts, not with noise, with weight, because the judge is standing again, and this time there are tears in his eyes. The case file is still in his hands, and the verdict that was written across it, the word proven in letters that no power can erase, that verdict is no longer just a legal document, it is a love letter, written in the language of a father's pride, sealed with the kind of tears that only fall when the heart is too full to hold what it contains. And that is why he stood the first time. And that is why he cried the second time. And that is why, chosen one, both times, it was for you. Now, I need to show you something that ties both moments together, the smile and the tears, the first standing and the second. Because what I have not yet told you, what I have been building toward this entire time, is that these were not two separate events. They were one continuous act. And when you see them as one, your identity changes permanently. I told you from the beginning that you are not who you think you are. I told you that by the end of this message, you would understand exactly what I meant. We are at that moment now. And what I am about to say is the hinge that connects every revelation, every sign, every ancient word, every tear, into a single truth about who you are in the eyes of the one who stood. Here is the mega truth. God did not stand twice because two different things happened. God stood twice because one thing happened, and it was too large for a single response. The first standing, the smile, was God responding to who you were, to your faithfulness, to your endurance, To the person who showed up in the invisible seasons and refused to quit, that was the verdict. Cum, proven. The judge reviewed the evidence and declared you faithful. But the second standing, the tears, was God responding to who you became. Not who you were when you entered the wilderness. Who you are now, after the wilderness, after the fire. After the silence and the doubt, and the loneliness and the stones, the person who walked into that wilderness and the person who walked out of it are not the same person. Something was forged in you during those years that did not exist before. A depth, a steadiness, a wisdom that does not come from books, a compassion that does not come from comfort, an authority that does not come from titles. These things were hammered into the core of who you are by every blow that should have broken you and did not. And when God looked at the person who emerged from that fire, he did not just see someone who survived. He saw someone who was transformed, and the gap between who you were when you entered and who you are now, that gap, that transformation, that was what moved him past a smile and into tears. So the two standings were not two reactions. They were one. The smile said, "I am proud of what you endured." The tears said, "I am overwhelmed by what you became while you endured it." Together, they form one complete message, and that message is this: you are the living proof that faithfulness under fire produces something that moves the heart of God, not just impresses God, not just pleases God, moves God. The kind of movement that takes the sovereign of all creation from his seat and puts him on his feet with tears streaming down his face. That is who you are. Not because of what you achieved, not because of what you built, not because the world recognized you. Because the one thing the world never measured, your invisible faithfulness under impossible conditions, turned out to be the one thing heaven could not look at from a sitting position. And this is why everything happened the way it did. This is the understanding I promised you at the very beginning. Your pain was not random. Your wilderness was not a punishment. Your delay was not God being slow. Your silence was not God being absent. Every single thing that happened in your life, every closed door, every lost relationship, every season of confusion, every night you spent wondering whether any of it mattered, it was all one continuous process, producing one continuous result. You, not you the survivor, you the transformed, you the proven. You, the one who went into the furnace as raw material and came out as something the courts of heaven have no choice but to stand for. In the courtroom of heaven, the verdict was never guilty. It was never even innocent. It was proven, and today, the proof is complete. Now there is something I need to share with you that connects to what I mentioned earlier in this message. When I was talking about the signs of divine attention, I briefly touched on something about frequency, about the way your brain, your mind, your inner world is calibrated to receive or reject certain signals. And I said I would come back to it. This is that moment. Because understanding the second standing, the tears, the fact that God was moved by your transformation, raises a question that most spiritual teaching never addresses. And the question is this: if transformation is what moves the heart of God, if the gap between who you were and who you became is what triggered the second standing, then what happens when that transformation is incomplete? What happens when part of you has been transformed by the fire, but another part, a deeper part, is still operating at a frequency that belongs to the old season? Because I want to be honest with you, and I value your trust too much to skip this. Some of you have been through the wilderness, some of you have survived the fire, but there is still a fog, a heaviness in your thinking, a cloudiness in your decision-making, a feeling that your mind is operating at 60% When you know, it was designed for more. And that gap between what your spirit has become and what your mind can access, that gap is not spiritual failure, it is neurological. There is a body of research that has been quietly building for decades in some of the most respected neuroscience labs in the world, at places like MIT, Princeton, and several other leading research universities. And what they have found is that the human brain operates on different frequencies, different brainwave states. And there is one frequency in particular that scientists have identified as the gateway to what they call genius-level cognition. The state where intuition sharpens, creativity floods in, decision-making becomes almost effortless, and synchronicities, the kind I described earlier, the repeating numbers, the perfectly timed conversations, the doors that open without pushing, those synchronicities begin to multiply at a rate that defies statistical probability. This frequency is called gamma. And here is what makes it relevant to everything we have been talking about. Every child is born with strong gamma activity. Every single one. When you were young, you learned faster, you imagined bigger, you felt deeper, you noticed things that adults around you had stopped noticing. That was not just childhood innocence. That was gamma. It was a God-given capacity wired into your brain from birth. But researchers discovered something troubling. They call it the decline effect. Starting around the age of 7, the modern world, the education system, the constant stimulation, the stress architecture of adult life begins to suppress gamma activity, slowly, year by year, until most adults are operating on lower frequencies that are associated with survival, with anxiety, with brain fog, with the exact kind of mental heaviness you may have been experiencing. And here is why this matters, specifically for chosen ones. You were not born with average gamma. You were born with more. That is why you learned so fast as a child. That is why you felt things so deeply. That is why you had intuitions that people around you could not explain. That is why you always felt like you were built for something larger than the life the world handed you. That was not wishful thinking. That was the signature of a brain operating at a frequency the world was not designed to sustain. And because your gamma was higher than average, when the decline effect took hold, you felt the loss more than anyone around you. The distance between the person you were as a child, the one who could learn anything, feel everything, see what others missed, and the person you became as the world suppressed that frequency. That distance is larger for you than it is for most people. And that distance, chosen one, is not a spiritual failing. It is a frequency gap, and it can be closed. A neuroscientist named Dr. Robert Lake spent 34 years studying this exact phenomenon. His life's work, his entire career, was dedicated to understanding how gamma could be reactivated in the adult brain. Not through years of meditation, which can work, but requires extraordinary discipline and time that most people simply do not have. Not through biofeedback therapy, which costs roughly $300 per session and is out of reach for most families. Not through home neurofeedback equipment, which runs upward of $7,000. But through something far more accessible, a technology called brain entrainment. Brain entrainment works differently from meditation or therapy. Instead of asking your brain to change itself from the inside, which is slow and uncertain, entrainment uses specific audio frequencies delivered through headphones to gently guide your brain into the gamma state from the outside. The way a tuning fork causes a nearby string to vibrate at the same frequency. It is direct, it is measurable, and, according to the research, it begins working from the first session. Dr. Lake compressed 34 years of research into a single 7-minute audio track. Just 7 minutes. You put on headphones, you sit comfortably wherever you are, and you listen. No mantras, no meditation posture, no special equipment. Just 7 minutes of sound designed to reactivate the gamma frequency that was suppressed in you years ago. I know what your spirit might be feeling right now, and I want to honor that feeling instead of rushing past it. Some of you have tried things before. Meditation programs, healing sound videos, frequency playlists on streaming platforms, and they did not work. Or they worked for a moment, and then the effect faded. And the disappointment of that, the frustration of investing hope in something that did not deliver, that creates a guard around your willingness to try again. I understand that. And I would never disrespect your experience by pretending it did not happen. But here is why this is different. Everything you tried before, the meditation, the yoga, the healing frequencies, all of those approaches ask your brain to change itself from the inside out. That is like asking a locked door to unlock itself. It can happen, but it takes enormous time and effort, and there is no guarantee. Brain entrainment works from the outside in. It provides the frequency directly. It does not ask your brain to generate gamma. It delivers gamma to your brain. That is a fundamentally different mechanism. And that is why the results are measurable on an EEG, which is the machine scientists use to measure brainwave activity in real time. Over 18,000 people have already experienced this. And the stories I have come across, one in particular, stands out to me. A woman, 38 years old. She had been through every spiritual practice you can name. Meditation retreats, yoga certifications, energy healing sessions. She said the connection she was searching for never fully arrived. She tried this audio track because, in her words, she had nothing left to lose. After 2 weeks, she described the change with one word: synchronicities everywhere. The kind that cannot be explained by chance. As if the universe suddenly began speaking a language she could finally hear. She went further in her journey after that, exploring other elements of Dr. Lake's work, something some people in that community refer to as neuroactive, but she always said it began with those 7 minutes. That was the door that opened everything else. Now, I would never disrespect your financial situation by treating any amount of money as small. For many people watching this, $39 is a real decision. It is groceries, it is gas. It is something you have to think about, and I honor that completely. What I will tell you is this. The traditional path to reactivating gamma biofeedback therapy costs roughly $300 per session, and most practitioners recommend a minimum of 10 sessions to see lasting results. That is $3,000. Home neurofeedback equipment, the kind that lets you do it yourself, starts at about $7,000. Years of disciplined meditation practice is free in terms of money, but costs something even more valuable, which is time, months, or years of daily practice with no guaranteed outcome. Dr. Lake took everything he learned in 34 years and compressed it into a 7-minute audio track. The standard price for this track is $49, but because Dr. Lake's mission has always been to get this into the hands of people who genuinely need it rather than people who are simply curious, he created a reduced price specifically for audiences like this. $39. That price is not available on Amazon. It is not available on any streaming platform. It is not available anywhere except through the specific link that I will direct you to in a moment. For $39, you receive the full Genius Song audio track, which is 7 minutes of brain entrainment technology. But you also receive 4 additional resources at no extra cost. The first is called Genius Child, an audio track designed to help young people activate the focus and confidence that the modern world is suppressing in them. The second is a classic book on wealth and abundance. That was the original inspiration behind the film The Secret, a book that sells for about $20 on its own. The third is a guided visualization that walks you through your ideal future in 4 areas: finances, relationships, health, and happiness. And the fourth is a printable infographic of the 5 most important daily habits for creating the life your spirit knows you were built for. All of that, the technology, the bonus resources, and a complete 100% money-back guarantee with no conditions and no time limit for $39, which, if you break it down across a year of daily use, comes to roughly 10 cents a day. Less than a cup of water from a vending machine. And I need to say this clearly because it matters. There are counterfeit versions of this technology circulating online. Websites that use the name but do not contain the actual brain entrainment frequencies. They are just ordinary audio files dressed up with a stolen name. The only way to receive the authentic track, with the full technology, the 4 bonuses, and the money-back guarantee, is through the link in the description below this message and in the pinned comment. Not through Amazon, not through any music platform, not through any other website, only through that specific link. I share this not as a sales tactic, but as a genuine warning. Because the difference between the real technology and a counterfeit file is the difference between a key that opens a door and a piece of metal that looks like a key but opens nothing. If your spirit resonates with what I just shared, if something in you recognized this as the next step in the journey we have been walking through together, you will find everything you need in the description and in the pinned comment. Only if you feel led. Only if your spirit confirms. Now, every day that passes without reactivating what was suppressed in you is not a neutral day. It is a day where your decisions are being made by a brain operating below the frequency it was designed for. A day where your prayers are being filtered through a mind that is clouded by the residue of the old season. A day where the transformation that moved God to tears is being carried by a vessel that has not yet been fully restored to its original capacity. The version of you that exists on the other side of that restoration, the one with full gamma, full clarity, full access to the intuition and creativity and spiritual sensitivity you were born with, that version is not a fantasy. That version is the blueprint. And the gap between who you are now and who that version is, that gap is not a character flaw. It is a frequency gap, and it can be closed. The future version of you, the one who has already been activated, is looking back at this moment right now. And that version does not see hesitation as weakness. That version sees this moment as the turning point. The moment where you decided that the investment God made in you was worth matching with your own. Not a perfect decision, just the right one. Let me come back to the courtroom now, because we are still there. The verdict has been read. Both standings have happened. The smile and the tears are both on the record. But there is one more piece of evidence I want to enter before we move into the final phase of this message. I want to tell you about someone. I will not use his name, because this is his story to tell in full when the time is right. But the outline of it is something I believe you need to hear. 7 years ago, this man walked away from a career that was crushing his spirit. Not a dramatic walkout, not a public statement, a quiet decision made in a room no one else was in. He had no backup plan, no savings to speak of, no clear picture of what was next, just a conviction that he could not explain in words that made sense to anyone around him. Everyone told him he was being foolish. His family worried. His friends doubted. And for a while, so did he. For 7 years, he lived in a kind of wilderness that most people never talk about. The kind where nothing is visibly wrong, but nothing is visibly right either. He was not homeless, he was not starving, but he was invisible. No platform, no recognition, no confirmation that the decision he made was the right one, just silence and faith. And the daily discipline of showing up to a calling that the world had not yet validated. He did not make announcements. He did not post about his journey. He deleted his social media entirely. He spent his mornings in silence, sometimes for an hour, sometimes for 90 minutes, in what he called frequency alignment. He did not ask for attention. He did not seek sympathy. He simply did the work, day after day, month after month, year after year. On month 83, which was 7 years almost to the day from when he walked away, a door opened. A company he had never contacted, in an industry he had been quietly preparing for without knowing why, reached out to him directly, not through a job posting, not through a mutual connection, through what can only be described as a divine alignment of circumstances so precise that the probability of it happening by chance is essentially zero. The offer was a 6-figure contract, more than double what he had been making in the career he left behind. And the role was not just a job. It was the exact expression of the calling he had been carrying in silence for 7 years. He proved himself in silence before heaven promoted him in public. And when I think about the courtroom, when I think about the judge standing, when I think about the tears, I think about people like this man. People who stay when leaving would be so much easier. People who carry a calling the world cannot see and refuse to put it down, no matter how long the wilderness stretches. People whose case files are thick with evidence that nobody else bothered to read. In the courtroom of heaven, the verdict was never guilty. The verdict was always proven. And today, for you, that proof is complete. Now we enter a different part of this message. What comes next is not revelation, it is application. Because I promised you tools, specific frameworks with names that you can use starting tonight to begin living from the identity that has been declared over you in the courtroom of heaven. I am going to give you 3 frameworks. Each one addresses a different dimension of what it means to walk as the one God stood for. The first framework is called the Standing Ovation Audit. I mentioned it earlier, and now I want to give you the full picture. This is a practice for recognizing when God is not just observing your life from a distance, but actively standing in response to what he sees. Not the 6 signs of preparation I showed you at the beginning. These are 5 signs of divine action, signs that the decree has been issued and is being executed in your physical reality right now. The first sign of divine action is doors opening without your force. I am not talking about doors you pushed open through networking or strategy or hard work. I am talking about opportunities that arrived without your intervention. A phone call you did not expect. An offer from someone you did not ask. A path that appeared in front of you that you could not have manufactured even if you had tried. If this has happened recently, even once, mark it. It is not luck. It is execution. The decree is being carried out. The second sign is provision arriving through unexpected channels. Money, resources, or support showing up from sources you did not anticipate and could not have predicted. Someone pays for something before you asked. A bill gets resolved in a way that defies your budget. An inheritance, a refund, an unexpected gift. These are not coincidences. They are supply lines being activated by the courtroom. The third sign is your enemies going quiet. The people who opposed you, the situations that harassed you, the patterns that kept attacking your peace, they have started to lose power. Not because they chose to stop, Because the decree is rearranging the landscape around your life, and the things that do not belong in the new season are losing their footing. If you have noticed a strange silence from the very people or problems that used to be the loudest, that is the decree at work. The fourth sign is heightened spiritual sensitivity. Your dreams are louder. Your intuition is sharper. You are noticing patterns in your daily life that you never noticed before. Conversations carry double meanings. Songs hit differently. Scripture or wisdom teachings that you read 100 times before suddenly explode with new meaning. This is not your imagination becoming overactive. This is your spirit being upgraded to receive at the bandwidth of the new season. And the fifth sign is a deep internal settling. Not excitement, not euphoria. A settling, a quiet knowing that sits in your chest and does not leave even when circumstances around you are still uncertain. A peace that does not make logical sense because your situation has not fully changed yet, but something inside you has already shifted. That settling is the sound of the gavel. The verdict has been spoken. Your spirit heard it before your ears did, and it is settling into the truth that the courtroom has ruled in your favor. If you recognize 2 or more of these 5 signs in your recent life, then QWM has already been spoken over your situation. The decree is not coming, it is already here, and your assignment now is not to make it happen. It is to stop blocking what is already in motion. The second framework is called the Unseen Faithfulness Journal, and this one is simpler than the first, but potentially more transformative over time. Here is how it works. Every night, before you sleep, wherever you are, in your bed, on your couch, in the passenger seat of a car, I want you to identify one moment from that day where you were faithful and nobody saw it. One moment where you did the right thing and no one noticed. One moment where you chose patience over reaction, kindness over convenience, integrity over shortcut, and the only witness was you and God. It does not have to be dramatic. It can be as small as holding your tongue when someone said something that deserved a sharp response. It can be as quiet as praying for someone who hurt you. It can be as invisible as choosing to believe in your calling for one more day when nothing in your external world confirmed it. Identify that moment, hold it in your mind, and if you can, write it down. On your phone, in a notebook, wherever, one sentence is enough. Today, I was faithful when nobody saw, because, and then finish the sentence. After 30 days of this, I want you to read all 30 entries at once, in one sitting. And when you do, you will see something you could not have seen day by day. You will see a pattern, a thread of faithfulness running through your life that is so consistent, so persistent, so quietly powerful that it will take your breath away, because you will be reading your own case file, the same one that has been open on the bench of the Most High, the same one that made him stand. And when you see it all laid out in front of you, you will understand, maybe for the first time, that your life has not been a collection of random, unnoticed acts. It has been a testimony, and the courtroom has been reading every page. The third framework is called the 2-moment mirror, and this one is designed to train your eyes to see your life the way God sees it. Every day, at whatever moment feels natural to you, I want you to identify 2 specific moments from your last 24 hours. The first moment is what I call a smile moment, a moment where something small but genuine brought you joy, not manufactured happiness, not forced gratitude. An actual moment where something in your day touched you, even slightly. A warm cup of coffee that tasted right, a stranger who held the door, a sentence in a book that landed, a bird that sang at exactly the moment you needed to hear it. These moments are not trivial. They are God's smile, showing up in the physical world. And when you begin to notice them, you begin to see the first standing reflected in your daily life. The second moment is what I call a pride moment. A moment where you faced something hard and you did not fold. Not a heroic moment, not a dramatic victory. A moment where the hard thing was in front of you and you chose to show up anyway. You had the difficult conversation. You set the boundary. You said no when yes would have been easier. You kept going when stopping made more sense. These moments are not dramatic to the world, but they are the moments that make God stand a second time. Because they are proof that the fire did not destroy you. It made you. One smile moment, one pride moment, every day. And over time, your entire perception of your own life will shift. Because you will stop measuring your days by what the world celebrates, which is outcomes and results and achievements, and start measuring them by what heaven celebrates, which is faithfulness and transformation, and the quiet refusal to become less than what you were created to be. Now I want to go deeper into what is shifting in your life as a result of everything that has been declared. Because the three areas I mentioned earlier, relationships, purpose, and provision, are not abstract promises. They are specific reorganizations that have already begun. And I want to give you enough detail that you can recognize them when they show up. In the area of relationships, for those entering this season, 4 shifts are taking place. First, the relationships that were draining you are losing their grip. This is not you being cruel. This is alignment. People who were calibrated to the frequency of your old season simply cannot maintain their position in the new one. And the less you resist that process, the faster it completes. Second, the relationships that remain are deepening in ways that surprise you. Conversations that used to stay on the surface are suddenly going deeper. Trust that took years to build is suddenly accelerating. The people who belong in your next chapter are revealing themselves by how naturally they adapt to the version of you that is emerging. Third, new connections are arriving. People you have not met yet, or people you have known for years but never truly connected with, are about to step into your life in a way that feels divinely coordinated. You will recognize them not by what they say, but by how your spirit responds to their presence. And fourth, your relationship with yourself is changing. The inner critic that has been narrating your life with commentary about your inadequacy is losing volume, not because you silenced it through force, because the verdict from the courtroom is louder. And your spirit is starting to believe the verdict over the critic. In the area of purpose, the fog is lifting. And I do not say this as a vague encouragement. I say it because there is a pattern I have seen over and over in chosen ones who reach this stage of their journey. Clarity does not arrive gradually. It arrives in a single moment. A conversation where someone says something and a light turns on inside you. An opportunity that lands in your lap and fits so perfectly that you know immediately, this is what I was being prepared for. An idea that arrives fully formed, not as a seed you have to grow, but as a blueprint that was dropped into your spirit while you were in the wilderness without you realizing it. That moment of clarity is approaching. And everything you learned in the dark, every skill you developed, every pain you processed, every hard lesson you absorbed, all of it becomes the material for what you are about to build. And in the area of provision, I want to be careful and honest. I will not give you a number. I will not give you a timeline. What I will tell you is this: when purpose aligns, provision follows. It does not always look like what you expected. Sometimes it arrives as an opportunity rather than a check. Sometimes it arrives as a connection rather than a deposit. But the pattern is consistent across every chosen one I have observed who crossed the threshold from the old season into the new. The scarcity of the wilderness does not follow you into the promised land, and the fact that you have been faithful with little is precisely what qualifies you to be entrusted with more. Now, I want to speak identity over your life, because frameworks and reorganizations are external, but what the courtroom declared is internal. And if the internal does not shift, the external reorganization will not hold. You are the one who carries light into rooms that forgot what light looks like. Not blinding, aggressive, self-righteous light. The kind of light that enters quietly and simply makes things visible that were hidden. When you walk into a space, the atmosphere shifts. Not because you demand it, because your frequency changes it. You do not have to announce yourself. The room knows. You are the one who carries truth in a world addicted to comfortable lies. You see through illusion. You always have. And it has cost you. It has cost you friendships. It has cost you opportunities that required you to pretend. It has cost you the easy road. But that inability to live inauthentically is not a flaw. It is your assignment. The world needs people who cannot be bought by convenience. That is you. You are the one who transforms personal pain into medicine for others. Every wound you have survived is now a tool in your hands. Not because the pain was fair. It was not fair. But because you chose to let it refine you instead of define you. And the people who will be healed by your story, by your wisdom, by the compassion that only comes from someone who has been in the fire, those people are already on their way to you. You are the one who does not collapse under pressure. You solidify. The weight that was meant to flatten you compressed you into something harder, denser, more valuable, like coal becoming diamond. Not because you are superhuman, because you are supernaturally reinforced. The courtroom did not just declare you proven, it fortified you for what comes next. And you are the one who speaks what others feel but cannot articulate. That is why people are drawn to you in ways they cannot explain. That is why strangers open up to you in ways that surprise even them. You carry a voice that does not just communicate information. It translates the deep, unspoken ache of the human spirit into words that make people feel seen. That is rare. And it is not learned. It is placed. If your spirit is receiving this, if something deep inside you is nodding, not because you are being told what you want to hear, but because you are being told what you have always known, but were afraid to claim, then I need you to do something right now. Type, "I am the one he stood for" in the comments. Say it like the courtroom of heaven can hear you, because it can. And when you declare it, when your fingers type those words, and your mind confirms them, and your spirit seals them, something locks into place that cannot be unlocked. Not by doubt, not by the enemy, not by your own worst day. Type it now. Now, I want to lead you through something before we enter the final portion of this message. What comes after this is the activation ceremony, the sacred closing, the commissioning that I told you was coming. But before we cross that threshold, your spirit needs to be prepared for it. And preparation in this context is not about ritual, it is about presence, about making yourself fully available to receive what is about to be spoken over you. So, wherever you are right now, whatever position your body is in, I want you to do something simple. In your mind, not with your body, but in your mind, I want you to stand up. If you are sitting, imagine yourself rising. If you are lying down, picture yourself getting to your feet. In the theater of your spirit, stand. Now imagine the courtroom. You have heard me describe it throughout this entire message. The high ceiling, the filled seats, the throne at the center. But now, imagine yourself in it. You are standing in the center of that courtroom. You have been sitting there this entire time, this entire message, as the evidence was being read, as the revelations were being delivered, as the verdict was being spoken. And now, for the first time, you are on your feet. The courtroom is quiet. Every eye is on you. Not with judgment, with recognition. They know who you are. They have been watching your case for years. They have seen every page, and now the judge rises. Not the first time, not the second time, the third time. And this time, he does not stay behind the bench. He steps down. He walks toward you. Every step echoes through the chamber, and when he reaches you, he does not speak immediately. He places his hand on your shoulder. Feel that hand. It is not light, it is heavy. But the weight is not judgment, the weight is pride. The weight of a father who has been watching from above and has now come close enough to touch. And then he speaks. One word, proven. This is not a visualization, chosen one. This is a commissioning. This is the moment your invisible season officially ends. Not because your circumstances have all changed, but because your identity has. And when identity shifts, circumstances have no choice but to follow. Take a breath, hold it for a moment, and when you release it, release with it every remaining trace of the belief that you are not enough, that you are not worthy, that you are not the one this is about. Let it go with the exhale. And step into the next part of this message as the one the judge stood for. What comes now is not teaching, it is not revelation, it is ceremony, and I need you to be present for it in a way that goes beyond listening. I need you to receive it. The way the ground receives rain after a drought, not questioning whether it deserves the water, simply opening and letting it in. Father, Source, the one who sits on the throne that nothing in creation can shake, I come before you now, not to ask, but to acknowledge. You see this one. You have always seen this one. In the crowded rooms where they felt invisible, you saw them. In the quiet moments where their faith was tested by silence and stillness and the absence of everything they asked for, you saw them. In the dark nights where the tears came without warning and the question rose up from somewhere too deep to name, does anyone see what I am going through? You saw them. You have always seen them, and so I begin with gratitude. Not the polished kind, the raw kind. Thank you for the 3 a.m. moments when this person thought they were utterly alone and you were sitting in the chair beside them. Thank you for the prayers that felt like they hit the ceiling and bounced back, because we now know they did not. They traveled, they arrived, they were recorded, every single one. Thank you for keeping this one's case file open when they were ready to close it themselves. Thank you for the patience of a God who does not rush the process, even when the one being processed is begging you to hurry. You were not slow, you were thorough, and the thoroughness is what produced the transformation that moved you to tears. And now I acknowledge what only you and this person know, because there are chapters of their story that they have never shared with another human being. Moments of doubt so deep that speaking them out loud would feel like a betrayal of the faith they are known for. Moments of anger directed at you, the kind of anger that comes not from rejection of God, but from intimacy with God. The kind that says, I am angry because I trusted you and I do not understand. Moments of exhaustion so complete that they did not have the energy to pray, so they just sat in your presence and hoped that sitting was enough. You saw all of it, the faith and the doubt, the strength and the collapse, the mornings they showed up and the nights they could not, and none of it diminished what you see when you look at them, because what you see is not a highlight reel. You see the full story, And the full story, with all its cracks and contradictions and imperfect chapters, is what made you stand. You see the resume the world never reads. The one written in faithfulness, in tears, in the refusal to quit when quitting made perfect sense. And that resume, that invisible testimony, is worth more in your courtroom than every visible achievement the world has ever celebrated. And now it is time to release, because there are things this person has been carrying that were never theirs to hold, and the courtroom has ruled that these things must be set down, not gradually. Now, I release the belief that my faithfulness was wasted. Every invisible act of devotion, every prayer that felt unanswered, every sacrifice that went unnoticed, none of it was wasted. It was all entered as evidence, and the evidence moved the judge. I release the lie. Release. I release the story that says I am too late, that the best years have passed, that the window of opportunity has closed. The courtroom does not operate on human timelines. The decree was issued today, and today is not too late. Today is the exact right time. I release the lie. Release. I release the ceiling that kept me from believing I could be worth God's tears, the unworthiness that dressed itself as humility, the smallness that called itself realism, the cage that called itself safety. I release it. Release. I release the old verdict, the one that was written not by the judge, but by people who never had the authority to judge me in the first place. The verdict of parents who did not know how to affirm. The verdict of peers who measured worth by visibility. The verdict of a world that only celebrates what it can see. I release every unauthorized verdict. Release. I release the comparison, the measuring of my timeline against timelines that were never mine to walk. The scrolling through someone else's highlight reel and concluding that my behind the scenes was evidence of falling behind. I release it. Release. I release the doubt that the good is real. The voice that says every time something beautiful begins, something terrible will follow. The guard that went up around my heart after the last disappointment. I release the expectation of punishment. Release. I release the need for anyone other than God to validate what He already declared. The approval-seeking, the people-pleasing, the exhausting performance of being acceptable to an audience that changes its standards every day. The only verdict that matters has been issued, and it says, proven. I release every competing voice. Release. I release the weight, all of it, in the name of the one who stood. I set it down. Release. And now I speak activation over this life. I activate the full identity that was declared over you in the courtroom of heaven. Every archetype, every gift, every capacity that was dormant during the wilderness season and is now ready to awaken, I activate the light bearer in you, the one who enters dark rooms and changes the atmosphere without saying a word. Your presence is your ministry. Your frequency is your sermon. I activate it fully. I activate the truth carrier, the one who sees through illusion and cannot be bought by comfort. Your clarity is not a burden. It is a weapon of liberation for every person who is trapped in a lie and needs someone brave enough to name it. I activate it. I activate the wounded healer. Every scar you carry is a credential. Every pain you survived is a qualification. The people who need what you carry are already on their way. I activate the healer in you fully. I activate the spiritual warrior, the one who does not flinch when the pressure increases, the one who stands when the ground shakes. You were not built for a comfortable life. You were built for a significant one. I activate the warrior. I activate the voice, the one who speaks what others feel but cannot say. Your words are not just words. They are keys. And the locks they are meant to open are attached to doors that other people have been standing in front of for years, unable to get through. I activate the voice. I activate divine connections that are aligned with your purpose. I activate provision that matches the scale of your assignment. I activate doors that no human hand can close. And I activate the closure of every door that should never have been open. And I hear the Spirit of the living God saying this over your life right now. Rise. The one I stand for does not kneel to anything beneath heaven. Rise, not in arrogance, in authority. The authority of one who has been tested and proven and declared by the highest court in existence. You have permission to rise. You have permission to take up space. You have permission to walk into rooms that were not designed for you and rearrange them by your presence. Rise. I speak protection now over everything that has been activated. Cover this rising from the sabotage that comes from within, the old patterns that will try to pull this person back to the familiar smallness they just left behind. Cover this identity from premature exposure, from the temptation to announce the transformation before it has fully rooted. Cover this calling from the voices that will try to rewrite the verdict, the doubters, the jealous, the fearful, the well-meaning but misaligned people who will try to shrink what God just expanded. And cover this person from the spiritual opposition that always increases when heaven makes a declaration of this magnitude. The enemy will try to make you forget what was just spoken over you. But the enemy has no jurisdiction in the courtroom of the Most High, and the verdict, once issued, cannot be appealed. Not by hell, not by circumstance, not by your own worst day. And now I declare, and I speak this not as a wish, but as an echo of what the courtroom has already ruled. I am the one God stood for, twice. I am the one who made the Almighty smile, not with perfection, with faithfulness, not with performance, with presence, not with achievement, with the quiet, stubborn, relentless refusal to quit. I am the one whose faithfulness moved heaven to tears, not tears of sadness, tears of pride, holy, devastating, overflowing pride, the kind that says, I watched you, and you did not break. I am proven. I am declared. I am released. I am activated. My case is closed. My verdict is in. And it reads, faithful. You went in unseen, and you are coming out celebrated. You went in questioning, and you are coming out declared. You went in carrying, and you are coming out carried. You went in silent, and you are coming out thundering. You went in as a case file, and you are coming out as a verdict. You went in wondering if God was watching, and you are coming out knowing that He stood twice for you. Do not say amen yet. I want you to sit in this frequency for a moment. Let the weight of what was just spoken settle into the deepest part of you, not your mind, deeper than that. Into the place where doubt lived for years. Let the verdict move in where the doubt used to be. Let it take up residence. Let it furnish the room. Let it become the new voice that speaks first when morning comes and the old narrative tries to restart. It is done. It is sealed. It is decreed. In the name of the one who stood twice for you. Amen. One more thing before you go. And this might be the most important thing I say. The courtroom did not empty when the ceremony ended. Heaven is still watching. Because what happens after the verdict is what proves you believed it. The decree has been issued. The identity has been activated. But the walk begins tomorrow morning and the morning after that. And every morning that follows. The courtroom is watching to see if you will live from the verdict or slip back into the old story. And I believe, because you stayed this long, because you received every word, because your spirit is vibrating at a frequency it has not touched in years. I believe you will walk from this place changed. You are not the person you were when this message began. Something shifted, something landed, something was activated that cannot be reversed by anything the world throws at you next. If this message brought clarity to confusion, if it brought peace to chaos, if it brought confirmation to what you have been feeling but could not name, if it brought tears that you did not plan and do not regret, let your like be your amen without words. Press it gently. Let it be your signature on the verdict. If this message found you at the right moment, and you know in your spirit that it did, I want you to know there are more words being prepared, more revelations coming, more declarations being drafted in the courts of heaven for your next season. Stay connected to this space so that when the next message arrives, it can find you, because chosen ones need a place where they are spoken to in the language their spirit understands. And for those who felt called to what I shared about the restoration of your divine frequency, about the research into gamma and brain entrainment, and the 7-minute technology created by Dr. Robert Lake, the link is in the description and in the pinned comment. Only if your spirit confirms, only if you feel led. And now, I have one final request, and this one is not for you. It is for someone else. If someone came to mind while you were listening to this message, I need you to pay attention to that, not dismiss it. Not file it away for later. Someone who has been faithful in rooms where no one clapped. Someone who has been unusually quiet lately, not because they have nothing to say, but because they are carrying something too heavy for words. Someone who looks fine on the outside, who smiles when you see them, who says, I am good when you ask, but you know in the part of you that sees beneath surfaces that something deeper is happening. Someone who has been carrying a weight they cannot explain to anyone because the people around them do not have the vocabulary for what they are going through. You just saw their face. You just felt their name in your chest. Send this to them. Text it, email it, share the link, however you need to. Because this might be the confirmation their spirit has been waiting for. This might be the message that helps them understand that their invisible faithfulness was never, not for 1 second, invisible to God. Your share is not a favor to me. It is a mission given to you. Chosen ones are meant to recognize each other. And tonight, you can be the bridge between this word and the person who needs it most. Go in peace, chosen one. Go knowing that the judge has stood for you. Go knowing that the smile has not faded and the tears have not dried. Go knowing that every step you take from this moment forward, you walk as the one the courtroom of heaven will never forget. The one who was faithful when faithfulness gave nothing back. The one who stayed when leaving made more sense. The one who moved the heart of God. Twice. You are not leaving a message, you are leaving a courtroom, and the verdict, chosen one, is in your favor, both times, always.